This is my Station Road Feldbahn locomotive. It's a 7¼ inch gauge loco made by a company called Station Road Steam near Lincoln in the UK. It's a good powerful club loco. Just going to show you around. Very easy controls to operate. The handbrake there, the regulator, all the various steam valves, forward and reversing lever. It's fitted with vacuum brakes. There's the vacuum gauge there, as you can see, and the pressure gauge. The loco runs at 120 psi. There's your water gauge there. It's a marine style boiler, so works very well. You have to sort of keep your eye on the fire because it's a marine boiler. As you can see, if I remove the grate, it's quite a shallow fire. It's a good sized bed, but it is actually quite a shallow fire. So the art of steaming the loco, or keeping a good fire, is to basically get as much coal in there as you can possibly get, because as you can see, it's quite shallow. If you let the fire go too low, you'll get a hole in the fire and the whole thing will go out. A couple of modifications I've made to the loco. It was originally fitted with two steam ejectors fed from the side tanks here. There's about, I think it's 2 gallons, around about 10 litres per side. The two tanks are linked together. I'm not a great fan of steam ejectors because they can prove to be unreliable at times, so I've made a couple of modifications. On this side, I've replaced the steam ejector with a simple hand pump, so I can pump the water from the tanks into the boiler. There's 2 clacks here, there's one that side and one that side. The other, they've still got one steam ejector this side, that's the water valve, and up here we've got the steam valve. So we've got one steam injector and a hand pump here, but I've also gone the whole hog because in my riding tender, which I'll show you in a moment, I also have a high pressure electric water pump which pumps to 160 psi, which is easy enough to overcome the pressure in the boiler, and that is fed via this pipe here from my tender stroke driving truck into this unit here, which will then fill the boiler with a simple flick of this switch here. I'm just going to show you my riding truck now, or riding truck stroke tender. It's underneath this coal hopper here. I have a 30 litre water tank. It's actually a tank that I purchased on eBay. It's actually from a camper van or motorhome or whatever, so it's good size, 30 litres. I just fill it up through that top bit there. Underneath the seat, you can see the workings of everything. There's the high pressure water pump. They're very so cheap. I think that was on eBay about £25. I think they're designed for window washing or something, but it does the job very well. And that literally just takes the water from the 30 litre tank there, obviously powered by this 12-volt battery. And there's my switch, and if I flick that switch, get the pump running, and that will start to fill the boiler. There's my coal, and vacuum brakes fitted, all P&P vacuum brakes fitted to this truck, and that's another truck there, also fitted with P&P vacuum brakes. Water treatment, steel boiler, so I always use this water treatment just to prolong the life of the boiler. Readily available, as you can see. You don't need a lot, 5 millilitres per 10 litres of water. Okay, I'm going to start filling the boiler now. So I simply need to pull that switch and wait for the water to come up in the glass. As you can see, we've just got a small amount of water just in the bottom of the glass there. Don't really need to put any more in, because as the water warms up, that'll pretty well go up to probably more than half full. So there's no point in putting too much water in the boiler initially, because it's just going to take a lot longer to heat all that water and get into steam. So just enough water in there to cover the top of the crown, and we'll light the fire shortly. Okay, so we're ready to light the fire now. So before we actually light the fire, just make sure, obviously the regulator's shut, all steam valves are closed, so all the steam valves are closed, reversing lever neutral position, and the drain cock in the open position. So obviously when we do get up to pressure, we don't want the Loco taking off all by itself. So we're going to light the fire, or start the fire off with some charcoal. This is just charcoal soaked in paraffin, so we'll load up with that, and then we'll light it. Okay, so we've got a good amount of charcoal soaked in paraffin on the fire grate. I've just switched the artificial blower on to give us a good draft. So we'll go ahead and light the fire. Let's get that going. You can see the fire being drawn in there nicely. We'll get that in. We'll leave that for sort of 5-10 minutes or so until the charcoal's well alight, and then we can start adding the coal. Just have a look, see how we're doing. That's good. Charcoal's well alight now, so we'll just start adding coal in small quantities, just to cover that charcoal. A few good shovelfuls in. Close the door, and basically just keep feeding the coal in little and often until we've got a good fire bed there. The charcoal will just burn away and fall through the gate, and then we'll have a good coal fire going. Hopefully in another 10-15 minutes or so. The Loco takes around about 45 minutes to sort of get up to full pressure. It's a steel boiler, so again we don't really want to stress the boiler, so 45 minutes is a good sort of time to get the thing into steam. So while we're waiting for the pressure to build, we'll have a walk round now and oil everything up, get all the movement oiled. So basically just going to go around, oil all the movements. I must admit I probably put a bit too much oil, some people might say, but I'd rather have a mucky, oily engine than one that's going to last and not basically wear itself out. So I just squirt oil everywhere basically. That side done. We're going to go around the other side and do the other side now. Next thing to do is to put some steam oil in the mechanical lubricator. which is a very thick treacle type of oil, and basically the mechanical lubricator here see how thick it is. The mechanical lubricator basically pumps this steam oil into the cylinders to lubricate the cylinders. I'm just going to prime it. I'm just going to turn that around a few times, and that'll just put a little bit of oil into the cylinders, so when we get going the cylinders will be nicely oiled. But as the movement goes, when we're actually underway, this gradually ticks round and that'll be pumping oil into the cylinders. As you can see, the fire's coming along nicely. We'll just keep feeding coal in. We'll build up a really good deep fire. Basically, I want to try and get that fire even and as deep as possible. You can see the pressure starting to rise. I don't know if you can see that. The pressure's up to 20 psi now, so as soon as the pressure gets up to about 60 or 70 psi, we'll be able to turn off the artificial blower. We'll be able to open this valve here, which is the Locomotive's own blower, and that'll draw the fire using its own steam. You can see the water gauge now. That's before we lit the fire, that was barely showing at the bottom. There was only just about eighth or a quarter of an inch of water in the bottom, but now the water's warmed up and it's expanded. You can see the water gauge now is gone up to half full without adding any extra water. That's just the water expanding. As I'm putting the coal in, I'm just making sure I'm getting the coal into all the corners, and just making sure there's no holes in the fire and that the fire grate is completely covered. One little modification I made to this Loco is that when you rake the ashes out from the bottom here, you'd normally just be raking them out onto the foot plate here, which is not really a good idea, and you don't really want to be dragging ashes out all over your track or indeed anybody else's track. So a little modification I've made, take that plate off. What I have here is basically a tin that I've just modified slightly. It was in actual fact a coffee tin. That just goes in there like so, and then I can just pull the ash through, and it just goes in there without going all over your track and your sleepers and what have you. And then obviously when that's full, you can just dispose of that. I'm just going to blow the water valve down, or the water glass down. Just open this gauge at the bottom here, or this cock at the bottom, and that'll just allow steam to flow through the water glass, just to verify that is actually reading correctly. If there's any air bubbles or whatever, the steam will just blow that through and just verify that the gauge is reading correctly. And then we've come back to reading that, and it's just a little over half full now, so plenty of water, as you can see. So we've got a really good fire going now, so I'm just going to keep loading the coal on, build that fire up as deep as I can possibly get it without it falling out the door. Okay, so we've got, well, it's gone over 80 psi on the pressure gauge now, so I'm going to turn off the electric blower, and then we can turn on the Locomotive's own steam blower. that's the electric blower out of the way. We'll open up this valve here, which is the locomotive's own steam blower. There we go. So we're actually drawing the fire nicely now with the locomotive's own steam. So we're fully self-contained, so to speak now. Just check the fire. Yeah, the fire's looking absolutely fantastic. So we're just over 80 psi now, so we'll just leave that until we get up to full working pressure, which is 120 psi on this Loco, and then we'll be ready to go. One little modification I made to this Loco is the tea strainer. Just put that over the top of the chimney. Basically it's a spark guard, so it'll just prevent any sparks which may come out of the chimney. Okay, so we're pressure now. You see we've got 120 psi on the clock there. You see the water level is good. We've got over half a glass of water. Fire looking nice and bright. We'll turn the blower down a little bit now because we're up to pressure. We'll just turn the blower down a little bit. Vacuum. You see we've got no vacuum at the moment. This is the vacuum brake lever. So to apply vacuum to the carriages in the driving truck, I'm just going to open the vacuum steam valve a little bit, and you'll see the vacuum come up in a moment. There's the vacuum. So just open that a little bit, just enough to draw the vacuum on the carriages. So we've now got a vacuum drawn on the carriages, so we've now got vacuum brakes, and this is the vacuum brake lever here. So we're just about ready to go. Of my essential driver's aid on the side there, a bottle of Abbott Ale, and in a short while we'll have a little ride round my garden railway. Okay, so as you can see we're up to pressure. The valve is blowing off, so I can turn the blower off altogether, and as we've got full pressure to half a glass of water, I'm just going to use my electric pump here to pump a little bit more water into the boiler. That'll calm things down a little bit, reduce the pressure slightly, and we'll put a bit more water in the boiler. Just check the fire. Yeah, we've got a good fire. So we are ready to go. So what we're going to do is to make sure the brake is on, which it is. Put the reverser into full forward gear. Just make sure the cylinder drain cocks are open. And we can then release the brake. Now the first part of this track here at home is downhill, so as you can see we're sort of going without actually doing anything. We're actually just sort of rolling down the hill at the moment. So we'll just get down to the bottom of the hill, and then we'll open up the regulator and we'll get going. Start to open the regulator now. I see water squirting up the side of the cylinders because the cylinders are cold, the drain cocks are open. Condensing in the cylinders still, but it's still goes the drain cock. Slightly downhill again here now. Opening up the regulator a bit now to climb the next bit of hill. Loco likes to be worked really hard with the marine boiler. This fire is fairly shallow, so you really need to keep a good depth of fire in there. So basically just shove in as much coal as you can possibly get without it falling out the door. And if you're running fairly light, such as I am around my garden railway, To keep the pressure up, you can see the pressure's good, nearly 120 psi, the valves will be blowing off shortly. It's just a simple matter of working the engine hard. If you can't work the engine hard, such as I can't on this garden railway, then use the blower. Just simply use the blower as well, just to keep the fire going, and then you won't have any problems in maintaining that pressure. Okay, so this is my Feldbahn Loco. Hope you enjoyed the ride around my garden track. Now, one of the railway lines that I go to, it's over half an hour long to get all the way around, so I haven't actually taken this Loco there yet, but I should think with all that coal on board and around 50 litres of water and the electric pump, which is obviously very easy to use on the move, I'm sure I'll be able to get around quite easily. I would imagine this Loco, since the small modifications, will be able to run for probably over an hour with the coal and water without having to stop. The other small modification I've made is just on the front here. Those of you with a keen eye will probably notice my new headlight. It's not quite scale, but you may notice that it's actually made from an old alarm clock. So as soon as the nights draw in, I'm hoping to get some nighttime rides around my garden track. When I do that, I'll also put those videos up onto YouTube. Okay, so we've finished the run now. We're back at the engine shed. So we're just going to start shutting things down. As you can see, we've still got 90 psi on the pressure gauge. So what I'm going to do now is obviously make sure the reversing lever's in the neutral position. All the levers, regulator, everything's shut. We can turn all the valves shut, turn the blower off completely. Make sure everything's shut down. I'm going to use the electric water pump now just to completely fill the boiler. That'll just put some extra water in the boiler, get the water around the tubes and such like, and then we'll have a blow down when things have cooled down. So I'm just going to fill the boiler up now. So boiler's completely full now, so we'll just leave things to cool down. The pressure will just gradually reduce. I'm going to leave the fire in the grate, so just let that go down naturally, and when things are cooled I'll remove the fire grate and blow the boiler down. I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, so the Loco's finished its run. It's had about an hour to cool down. Pressure's dropped down to about 25 psi now. I'm just going to remove the fire, get rid of the fire, and then we'll blow down the boiler. So one good thing about many locomotives such as this with a marine style boiler, it's generally pretty easy to remove the fire. You haven't really got to sort of grovel around underneath, dropping the fire out from underneath the locomotive. You can generally just pull the fire out, pull the whole grate out. There it is, that's the fire, so I'll just go and get rid of that. Okay, let's get rid of the fire. Pull that out. I'm going to put this back in now because I don't really want cold air going through the tubes just yet. I'm just going to remove my homemade ash pan, move that out of the way, and then just down here is a blow down valve which I'm just going to open gently now because we've got about 25 litres of still boiling water in the boiler. I'm just going to open that blow down valve. Basically we're just going to blow the boiler out now. And basically that will just get rid of any crud and impurities that are probably in the bottom of the boiler. And I'm going to completely drain the boiler. Okay, so we're all blown down now. The boiler's empty. Loco's cooling down, and in the morning I shall give the Loco a good clean. I shall clean the tubes, give the Loco a wash, and all ready for its next run. So this is the Station Road Steam Feldbahn locomotive in 7¼ inch gauge. I've owned it for nearly 3 years now, and very pleased with it. If you have any questions or queries about how to run a similar loco, you know, just give me leave some comments in the comment section below. Okay, so it's the next morning. As you can see, Loco's all nice and clean now. I cleaned the Loco first thing. Basically I just wash the Loco down with some hot soapy water, then clean all the metal parts down there just with an oily rag. Now I want to show you this, very excited. The postman has just been and he has just delivered me this from Polymodel Engineering. It's what is known as a weir pump, spelt W-E-I-R. Basically it's a little mini steam engine really, with a water pump on the bottom. Displacement lubricator there. The top part there is basically a mini steam engine and the bottom part's a water pump. Now I'm going to fit this to the Loco. I'm actually going to fit it probably, well, sort of in that sort of general area. Now basically how that is going to work is I'm going to do away with the injector that's just down there. If you can see that, so there's an injector there. I'm going to do away with that. The steam valve for that injector is this one here. Now basically the steam, I'm going to use that, the steam will then come along, where are we, come along here, steam into there, displacement lubricator there. The pump will work and I'll be drawing water from this tank here straight into the boiler. So really looking forward to getting that all plumbed in and working, and then we'll be ready to go. So I'll do another little video when this is all up and running. If you're interested in seeing this, how it works, then it might be worth your while just subscribing to my channel. Hit the bell icon and you'll get a notification when this is up and running. Yeah, should be good. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye for now.